Hi guys, sorry about that. Right, I'm back. I'm back for a part 2. It's Louis in the UK. Nice to see you all. So we're here to chat about Elvis. We got a bit cut off then, but we're back. Got me a cup of tea. So I'm going to start from the beginning again because we got a bit mixed up. So we're here. We're going to just sort of try and get a feel for why Elvis had such a bad name when it comes to pills and his health and being overweight. If you speak to non-Elvis fans, they will always say, I think, quite hurtful things about Elvis. They'll say things like he was overweight, he was a druggie, he was constantly unfaithful, he had a bad temper, he was found on the toilet. They say all the rubbishy things, which I just don't think are very fair. So there's an author called Sally Hodge, Hoedel, and she has brought out a book, Destined to Die Young, which I've been trying to get. It's not as easy as you think to get it. I'm not really sure why. There's loads of interviews of her showing that she had researched Elvis's life. She's a lifelong Elvis fan, and she had seriously looked into his life to find out just how unwell Elvis was and what led to him being so unwell, dying so young at 42. And it's from the interviews I've been watching, her research has been amazing, and the witnesses that she found are fantastic and a real eye-opener. And he had some very, very serious medical problems. We're talking unbearable pain, yeah? And this involved his heart, his colon, his liver, his eyes. And he just had some serious stuff. So I've been just sort of flitting through bits and see if we can do a shortish video and just pull some of this information together. So I'm going to play her interview. I'll play all of it, and then we're going to go through each point that she says. It's only very short.
Is that he was an ill man, and by the time he passes in 1977, he has disease and disorder in 9 of the 11 systems of the body. And again, most of that has been written off, throughout the last many decades as the end result of the prescription medication problem. But with my research, evidence shows that at least 5 of those were present prior to fame. Most likely since birth, most likely genetic in nature. His maternal grandparents were first cousins, so we see that play an issue in his mother, who died at 46. Elvis dies at 42. She also has 3 siblings who died very young, and all very similar liver, heart-related issues. So it really stops being a coincidence, and it starts to point to Elvis's young death, and it can explain things for us when we really analyze that, and that's certainly what the book does.
I'm just doing a live, right? So you just need to be quiet. Who was that? Is it you? Okay. All right. Right. If you want to put something on, you have to just turn the volume right down or be quiet. Well, if you go and sit over there and be quiet, then we'll be okay. Right. So I'm going to go through these points again. We've got Gail's father is going to be in this, Charlie Hodge. So I'm just going to go through what she just said quickly, and then we'll jump over to Charlie Hodge.
Passes in 19.
Right, let's have a look. Let me just get it. I've actually been watching loads of interviews with Sally Hodge with her book, Destined to Die Young. That book seems amazing. Amazing. Right, let's have a look. Let's get it.
Passes in 19.
Right, go.
This is that he was an ill man, and by the time he passes in 1977, he has disease and disorder in 9 of the 11 systems of the body. And again, most of that has been written off,
So 9 of the 11 systems of the body. Yeah, I know. It's going to plug it in over there. Right. So then we've got
throughout the last many decades as the end result of the prescription medication problem. But with my research, evidence shows that at least 5 of those were present prior to
You hear that? 5 of those. Prior. Let me just go back on that a little bit. Let's have a look.
Evidence shows that at least 5 of those were present prior to fame.
So prior,
most likely
right?
since
So
birth, most likely genetic in nature.
So she hit prior to fame, most likely since birth, and most likely genetic. Turn it right down, please. And so it's like this. We're talking. How can I explain it? So Elvis is. So people look at Elvis. I'm on about non-Elvis fans. They talk about Elvis as if he was some kind of druggie that was trying to get stoned, trying to get high, trying to party, and it's not true. It's not true. This man was very, very unwell, and he tried to hide. Tina, just turn it down a bit more. Give me the remote. Remember, they can hear it over here, yeah? Just a little bit more. Right. So what I'm trying to say to you guys is that Elvis tried to hide how unwell he was. He tried to hide it. He was a proud man. He didn't want to know that his staff thought that he was weak or and had some quite embarrassing illnesses, because obviously he had constipation, the twisted colon, and the type of medication that he had to take was embarrassing. So everyone tries to just sort of point the finger at him being a druggie. Elvis was not a druggie. He didn't like street drugs. He was on serious medication that was prescribed by doctors. But did Elvis, towards the latter years, the painkillers, etc., did he take more than he should have? Yeah, he definitely did. And people talk about him like he was really fat. But if you look at pictures of Elvis when he's on his last holiday, he's not fat. His body is slim, but his stomach is poking out. I think they call it distended. Is that it? Distended. All of his internal organs are massively inflamed and were bloated. So you would think that he was very overweight, but he wasn't. It was just that this section of his body had grown quite large. But if you look at his arms and his legs, and in a minute I'll show you the picture, he's much slimmer than people realize. So let's play a bit more.
His maternal grandparents were first cousins, so we see that.
Let's just stop that again. So she just says his maternal grandparents, I think Gladys's parents, were first cousins, which that causes some serious problems as well.
Play an issue in his mother, who died at 46. Elvis dies at 42. She also has 3 siblings who died very young. And all.
So that's another thing, that many of Elvis's relatives died in their 40s. So it's almost like she calls her book Destined to Die Young, but it's like the Presley line, yeah, were many of them died in their 40s.
Very similar liver, heart-related issues. So it really stops being a coincidence, and it starts to point to Elvis's young death, and it can explain things for us when we really analyze that, and that's certainly what the book does.
Yeah, so she says liver and heart conditions. Have a great day, or even Elvis Presley could hate things you are. I hate the way. I don't get this comment, but so what I'm trying to show, yeah, guys, I'm trying to show you that what I'm trying to show you guys is that Elvis had genuine health problems, and he wasn't a druggie. He didn't want to get stoned or high. He wanted to soothe his pain, soothe his medical problems. Yeah. And we've got Charlie Hodge here who starts to explain to make us as fans, he's got a crowd of people there, understand why he was so unwell.
If I was there, I would have gone up and I'd said, now, Elvis, listen to me. No, you wouldn't have. Now, you think about your boss. How often do you go up to your boss and say, hey, listen to me? One time. You see, so people say they would do something. Elvis listened to a lot of people, and he would listen. Elvis knew that he was overweight. Elvis did not know, nor did anyone else, including the doctors, how sick Elvis was.
So I'm trying to show you guys that Elvis couldn't help how unwell he was, and that he was born that way. Yeah, and he had some inherent genetical problems, and part of it was because of the fact that Gladys's parents were first cousins. So let's listen to the next slot.
Likes to use the great big magic catch-all phrase, drugs. So yes, Elvis took drugs for hypertension. I take drugs for high blood pressure. Same thing. Now, if I stop taking those drugs, I might die. So it's necessary. It's part of my lifestyle. I don't like it, but it's necessary. Also, he had glaucoma, which he had to take a drug or he would have gone blind. So it was necessary for him to be on that drug. You see? He had a bad liver, just like his mother, and he had to take a drug for that. So yes, he was on that drug. He also had a twisted colon, which is very, very painful. And he had to take a very heavy narcotic for that to not be painful. So he took a drug for that. He did not use street drugs, the kind you buy.
See, so I like this. I like this comment, this short video, because we know that Charlie Hodge was very close with Elvis, knew him way back going to the army years, and obviously he was also a talented man because he was very musical as well. But the thing I like about Charlie Hodge is that he knew him. He was with him all the time. And he knows that Elvis was not a druggie, was not trying to get high, was not trying to get stoned. And us here on this channel, we're here to defend Elvis, get to the truth. And the whole point of what I'm trying to do now is to show you guys that Elvis was not a druggie. He just had serious medical problems, and the doctors were trying their best to soothe his problems, to help ease his problems, especially with his colon and his constipation and his high blood pressure, and that many of the tablets he was taking were nothing to do with getting stoned or high. They were just about trying to fix him, trying to one thing I read was that he had to take 43 pills a day. 43 pills a day. This is how unwell Elvis was. So I don't like the fact that Elvis is so badly portrayed as someone who basically was a druggie, and he was definitely not a druggie. He was just a very unwell man. Let's look at the next section.
Use street drugs, the kind you buy from someone. He did not use it just to get high. He used it for what was necessary. That was wrong in his body. That was the same thing wrong in his mother's body, and the same thing wrong in the mother's two brothers' body. And all four of them, Elvis, the mother, and the two brothers, were very large when they died. So it was inherent on the Smith side of the family to die of a heart attack.
So you see, so obviously he's talking about Gladys Love Smith's side of the family. And when you start knowing these facts, you start realizing that in a horrible way that Elvis had no choice. Elvis didn't choose his past, his DNA, his genetics. He was born in this body. And yes, when he was young and slim, everything was fine. But as soon as he started becoming just a bit older, I would say he probably noticed signs of his ill health. I'm just guessing a bit here, in his 30s. And he did his best. He did what everyone does, go to the doctor bit by bit with all these different medical conditions. And he just tried to ease his pain and try, in his mind, cure his problems. So I really think that Elvis has been very badly portrayed by the press, by the media. It could be on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. And the bottom line is he was very unwell. He was doing no harm. He was very unwell. So he took some sleeping tablets to go to sleep. It was, even now, it's very common. So he took whilst he was not in the army, he would take uppers for the minute so he could stay up late for the maneuvers. Well, the uppers were given to them by the army. It was just normal stuff. Normal stuff. Now, did it get away from him in the end? Did it all get, how can I say? Did in the end Elvis lose control of his medication, of much medication he was taking? Yeah, I think he did. He had more than one doctor. I think he had 3 doctors prescribing him different things. So let's just see the next section.
Elvis had 3 other heart attacks already. So there were weakened valves in his heart already. Just like his mother. Just like the mother's 2 brothers.
So just the fact. Right, let me show you the next section as well.
So that is why Elvis took those things. And could we have done anything about it? What do you do for a man that has high blood pressure? Except see that he takes his medicine. What do you do for a man who has glaucoma? Except see that he takes his medicine or drugs. You see? What do you do for a man who has a twisted colon? Except see that he takes his drugs so he won't have the pain. So what would you have done? You would have made sure he got his drugs so he wouldn't be in pain. You would have done the same thing that everyone working for Elvis did. Make the man happy.
See, so he's spot on. You know, you've got a very unwell man and he's looking to his doctor to help fix him, to help him through the day, to get him through the tours, get him through his movie schedules. So what would you do, guys, if just suddenly you were besieged with all these medical conditions, very painful ones, very uncomfortable ones? You're going to look to your doctor because that's all you can do. But I feel that this has been really held against him. And I don't think the public in general know that Elvis did have genuine, serious illnesses that he had to deal with day to day. And it was very extreme. Elvis realized it did get out of control. This is why Dr. Nick and his nurses round the clock administering his meds. He definitely was not a druggie. I agree, Tracy. He was between a rock and a hard place. He had to try and get his fitness back so he could perform. You know, he had a lot of bills to pay and he was going to do what he needed to do. Right, so
so much money. It's possible that
right, I've got another.
The drugs that he had in the system could have come from a couple of people that were working with him at the time, and it's also possible that he may have medications that he had put back some at some time or other.
After all of this,
it's interesting to know. Just if I just Google in here, I just literally write what illnesses Elvis had. I'd just be interested to see what comes up. And I really want to get this book, Destined to Die Young, so I can really go into it properly. Elvis was known. Let's have a look. So people try to blame it on his bad diet, but no, I just think he was very unwell. Let's see if it actually says. what disorders did Elvis have? So he had anxiety, insomnia, high blood pressure, twisted colon, and glaucoma, and cardiac. It says. I'm not sure. So Elvis suffered from chronic constipation, and it says in the post-mortem he had 4 months of compacted stool in his bowel. Let's have a look. So I'm just trying to, the reason I'm going through this, guys, is just to try and make you understand just how unwell he was. Yeah. And that he literally was forced to take this medication to try and sort things out. Let's have a look. Not because he was eating junk food or because of his diet or because he was binge eating. He was just genuinely ill. Let's have a look if I can find. No, this one's no good. I want one that's actually listing the illnesses. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. So let me just. So there, Elvis Presley had become synonymous with many things of rock and roll. Right, let's have a look. Let's get to the illnesses. Come on, let's find the illnesses. So he, in the toxicology report, Elvis Presley was found to have extreme high level of, and then it lists the different tablets. But yes, he did have lots of tablets in the system because he was being medicated to try and ease the unbearable pain that he was in. Let's have a look. Actually, what we'll do, we'll bring up Sally Holdall's book, and that will explain it better, I think. And I recommend, she's done some brilliant interviews, Destined to Die Young, explaining this book, explaining how she did her interviews. Here we go. For some reason, you can't buy it, which is, you can buy the audio version of it, but you can't buy the actual book, which I've been trying to get hold of it, guys, but for some reason. So Destined to Die Young is a definitive examination of why the world lost Elvis Presley on August 16th, 1977. The reason for the levels, let me just bring that up a bit. The reason levels were so high is that he had been taking them for years and his body had developed high tolerances. Thanks, Tracy. So I'll just read. When he was only 42 years old, author Sally Hoddle has painstakingly researched the subject and offers factual and scientific data, plus never before published information that she gained by interviewing people who personally knew Elvis to support his claim that Elvis Presley was never going to live a long life. In this well-documented book, Hodge explores how prescription medication was only one aspect of his compromised health and did ultimately cause his demise. She examines Elvis Presley, a son, a husband, a father, and devoted friend, while plowing through the negative hype and the legendary myths surrounding the man. Elvis' downward spiral of health struggles and is presented, and for the first time ever, it is revealed that he suffered from disease in 9 of the 11 body systems, 5 of which were present from birth. This book dispels the long-held theory that abuse of prescription drugs is what killed Elvis. And this is what we're looking for, guys. I like the way that's just been worded. Let me just read it. So it's we'll start further up. Suffered from disease in 9 of the 11 bodily systems, 5 of which were present from birth. This book dispels the long-held theory that abuse of prescription drugs is what killed Elvis. That's what we want, guys. We want to dispel the lies, the rumors that Elvis was a druggie. We need to get past that and prove that he was not, which is why I had to get this book. You may be surprised to learn that based on Elvis Presley's family history and the genes, he was dealt with nothing could have saved the king of rock and roll. Let's have a look. Elvis' downward spiral of health struggles in presenting for the first time ever. It is revealed that he suffered from diseases in 9 of the 11 bodily functions, 5 of which were present from birth. This book dispels the long-held abuse theory of abuse of prescription drugs is what killed Elvis. Destined to Die Young is for anyone curious to know the true one of the world's most famous cultural icons. Elvis Presley fans, it provides a lingering questions surrounding his death. You may be surprised to learn that based on Elvis Presley's family history and the genes he was dealt, nothing could have saved the king of rock and roll. Let's keep going. Let's get to the bottom of this. So let's just find it. Sorry, it keeps jumping around, guys. Right, yeah. So that's that. Elvis suffered from disease and disorder in 9 of the 11 bodily functions. Could you imagine that? Imagine that. I know, Tracy, but I can't find it. I cannot find that book. I've been looking for it, and I cannot find it. So I did find, let me just see if I can get her up, a young girl on YouTube. Thought she was really good. Let's just see if it's going to come up. Let's see if I can get it. Oh, it might not let me do it. Let's have a look. Let's just see if it's going to let me. I thought she was brilliant. Here we are.
Hi, friends, and welcome back to Aunt Nash, but there are too many people depending on me. And what they can do to your body. So, starting off,
Right, so this girl, Mary Patricia. I'm just going to play a few little clips from her YouTube channel. And she does highlight how unwell Elvis was and that he truly needed the medication he was on. I'm not sure which clip this is. We're just going to press play. But 100% look this up, guys. It's his diseases and illnesses. And you spell her name normal Mary, Mary, and normal Patricia, Patricia. And it's you can tell she's a proper fan.
1, chronic insomnia. Now, Elvis struggled to sleep since he was a toddler. We know this. If you read Destined to Die Young, you really get a good picture painted in your head of what insomnia can do to a person and what it has done to Elvis Presley. He could go days and days and days without getting more than 2 hours of sleep. It resulted in impulsive actions, sleepwalking, compromised immune system, and introduced him to dexedrine, the drug that cemented Elvis's confidence in prescription medication. Number 2, his heart. So when the autopsy was performed on Elvis after his death, his heart was described like this. When the enlarged heart was removed from Elvis's chest and held up for the others in the room to view, instead of looking like red muscle, this heart looked like brown flab. A normal heart weighs 375 grams, and Elvis's heart weighed 520 grams. It was a sign of hypertension, but in this case, perhaps congestive heart failure.
See, so they, Elvis, this girl says he'd had 3 heart attacks. When they did the autopsy, that they could see that he'd had 3 heart attacks. So there was a weakening to the arteries leading to the heart. All right. So then she goes on to talk about his liver now. So remember, I know, guys, this can be quite upsetting to listen to, but I do think we have to hear it to understand just how poorly Elvis was.
And it literally was like brown nothing. Like it was bad. And that was in his body when he died. So number 3, his liver. Now, Elvis's mother, Gladys, suffered from heart and liver failure. She was not a raging alcoholic, actually. I could do a whole episode on this. There has been so many rumors speculating Gladys's death, saying that she was an alcoholic and she ruined her liver that way. I'm not going to get into that now. That is not true. I could do a whole episode on that if you'd want me to. But according to Anthony William, the author of Liver Rescue, he said dark circles or sunken eyes for weeks or months mean there's a hidden problem, a liver problem. I will insert a picture of Gladys.
So the rings around the eyes that Elvis had and Gladys had, it just showed there were serious liver problems. Let's jump forward a bit. I mean, she's brilliant, this girl. I've gone through some of her videos. I highly recommend this girl.
Was not the first one who supposedly had this, but I can make an entire video again just on this one disease because it is so detailed, but it's tied into Elvis's family tree in a very interesting way. Also going off the lungs, he had breathing problems often and even hired a masseur to pound on his back to break up the mucus filling up his lungs. Labored breathing led to his lips and stomach distending because he was swallowing a lot of air to get more oxygen. So
this is another thing that people call him fat, but he had serious inflammation, and she's now describing what caused it, and I think she goes on to even say that Elvis was not fat. So it's another. Obviously, he had puffed up, and his stomach had swollen. If you look at pictures of Elvis when he was on holiday in Hawaii, he is not fat. His tummy is fat, but the rest of him is actually quite normal.
Swelling kind of thing. That no, it wasn't, because Elvis was fat and he ate too much food. His bowels. So this one, when I was talking about in the beginning of this episode, it probably was. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't embarrassing for him. Maybe it was just something that was part of his life from literally an infant. So he was used to it, but it can be seen as something very, very embarrassing, especially when you're talking to people who don't, who think that Elvis is just like this guy in leather that is just so awesome and so cool and so sexy or whatever. When you learn that he has these kind of issues, I could see why Elvis would be like, oh, no, you can't. I don't want them to know. Elvis struggled majorly with constipation. He would be left feeling unbearably uncomfortable for days and days, and it bothered him so much that he even included it into his TCB pledge, which reads, more self-respect, more respect for fellow man, respect for fellow students and instructors, respect for all styles and techniques, body conditioning, mental conditioning, meditation for calming and stilling of the mind and body, sharpen your skills, increase mental awareness for all those who might choose a new outlook and personal philosophy, freedom from constipation, TCB, all techniques into one. So this bowel dysfunction caused his megacolon, which was a main factor in Elvis's death. His bowel ailments also affected his digestive system. Constipation was also a long-running struggle within Elvis's family tree. Again, genetic. The intense intestinal pain became one of the main reasons that he took medication. His stomach was so swollen because of his megacolon.
So that's it, guys. I think that says it all. I highly recommend you look this up, guys. Look this girl up. She is called. Let's have a look. I say it again, Maria Patricia. I'll come back for a part 2, guys. Take care.